Eshe, you used to be a student here, didn't you?
I did. I started when I was, I believe, 6, and I'm now 31. Gosh, I'm not going to age myself. I'm 31 next. I'm 30. I'm 31 next.
And we're at the Afruika Bantu Saturday School in Herne Hill. Is it Herne Hill or Tulse Hill? I get them mixed up.
I think it's Tulse Hill.
Tulse Hill.
On the official address, yes.
So full time, you're a teaching assistant.
Yes.
And you was like teaching here sometimes?
I used to teach class 1, which is 5 to 7-year-olds. We used to obviously do maths, English, science, and a Black History teacher. Auntie Imani used to do the Black History. But because of my demands of my full-time job, I decided to then switch to doing the food full-time.
So now you're dealing with the food?
Yes.
And we've got some healthy sandwiches?
Got some sandwiches.
Fruit juice?
We've got some fruit juice.
No fizzy drinks?
No fizzy drinks. No. And we got some fruit.
And some fresh fruit?
And yes, they get that at 1:45, and they have a 20-minute break, and then they go back to lessons at 10 past.
Excellent. And what happens to you after lunch?
After lunch, I just tidy the kitchen and help around the school, wherever needs help.
Beautiful. You're doing a fantastic job. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Greetings, my name is Sister Afra. I'm from the Afruika Bantu Saturday School. I am the teacher coordinator as well as the English teacher. Why I got involved in the Saturday School is I was actually one of the first members. Afruika Bantu Saturday School many moons ago was called the Next Generation Saturday School. And it was me alongside 5 other members, and we're in 2018 and we have around 47 young people on our books, so we've grown exponentially during that time. Why I got involved is obviously the background that I've spoken about, but most importantly, I appreciate the investment that I had at the age of 10 years old. And I know that has definitely benefited me through my own personal journey. Not only in my academic pursuits, but also my confidence in self, and that is effectively why we're here. We don't just teach the academic subjects, but we also infuse African history, because our young people need to be confident in who they are. And most recently, we appreciate with all of the technological advances why we need to introduce coding. So we appreciate that young people need to be able to be in a position where they can think about generating income for themselves, and coding is an avenue for that. In terms of the future of the school, we definitely want to do some more partnership working with other African Saturday schools, so shout out to Nubia in particular. We also, when Queen Mother Moore was in existence, was doing some partnership working with them, and that's effectively what it's about. You know, we talk a lot about the things that are happening with our young people, but we need to invest a lot more time socialising them. And how do we do that? It's not just via academic institutions such as this, but it's about them meeting other African children, building those positive relationships, so that when certain conflict happens, actually they know each other, and all of that indifference will actually come out to play.
Did this school, did it receive an award for last year?
Absolutely, how could I forget? So Rise Up NABSS for supporting us throughout our journey, and also awarding us for our works in our community. You know, sometimes it is tiring getting up on a Saturday. I'm not going to say that it gives me particularly great bouts of energy, but it's something that we need to do. And that draws me neatly into why we think Saturday schools are actually important. We complain time and time again in terms of what's going on in mainstream education. Well, we can't just be complaining about that. We have to be part of a solution, and the solution is creating alternatives. And Afruika Bantu Saturday School is one of them.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for your time.
No problem.
Right, I'm Ian Cameron, and I'm at the African Bantu Saturday School, and this is my second stint here. I came here initially to do African history, but I ended up doing maths because I'm a mechanical designer by profession, engineer, mechanical designer, project manager. So the maths I did, and in fact, Imani, who is now doing the science, is one of the youngsters that I did maths with. And I just feel that we have to take responsibility for educating our youth, because the system's quite ready to categorise them with all sorts of problems, because they are challenging, they are difficult. But I can relate to how difficult they can be. because I was like that. I was like that myself in Guyana, but it's just that I went to a private school that was, I got sent to a private school by my mother that was run by a friend of hers, and this woman used to flog me regularly every day, and I went home one day, because my mother was a teacher as well. She taught in Haringey, at a sort of junior and infant school up there, and but this woman was a friend of hers, so I went home, and my mother noticed a cane mark on my leg and said, Miss Jackson's been kicked. I said, no, she's it. She gave me some more. She said, Miss Jackson's my friend and she wouldn't beat you for nothing. So, but when I came to the UK at the age of 8 and I had a reading age of 15, I couldn't take too much credit for that, could I? Because I know that I just wanted to run the seawall and do what I wanted and whatever. And that's why I can relate to some of the more not particularly interested youngsters, etc. But fortunately, we don't have that many of them here. I'm really impressed with how much effort they put in their spare time on a Saturday to the work that we're doing with them.
So how did you get involved with the school?
Well, as I said, I was looking for, I think African history is the key to the African Renaissance. And so that's what I was focused on, trying to get involved in teaching. But there's always been someone here in that role. And so the person doing the maths, they were short. So I switched to the maths, but African history was one of my, it's an ongoing passion, because I think that once you're knowledge based, once you're aware of where we're coming from, then you're going to have a much more, you're much more confident in your own ability to produce and be productive and everything else. And realistically, we've still been very, very productive over the last 5,000 years, despite being literally warred on by Semites, Arabs, and eventually Europeans. So those aspects of history aren't projected and promoted enough. The seminal role of Nubia, Kemet, Egypt, when it was run by the African pharaohs like Amenhotep and Khufu and Khafre and Menkaure and all these great African leaders. Most people, it's not a part of our knowledge base. How many people are aware of that? And realistically, I wouldn't expect that projected and promoted in within the status quo schools in the USA, UK, or anywhere else in the diaspora. But in our schools, that's our responsibility.
It's a must.
It's a standard thing. I mean, when I'm just baffled as to how difficult it is to get our leadership focused on. It's so doable. We've got the works of Dr. Ivan van Sertima, a whole collection of books. Anthony T. Browder is still alive. Asa Hilliard III. Dr. Henrik Clark. There's so much of our history that's now available. I mean, it started with J.A. Rogers and some of those guys back in the day, but Chancellor Williams' book is even still good, the Destruction of Black Civilization. So we're fortunate in that we have access to our true history, where most our parents, etc., were just, their knowledge base was completely filled with either European history or slavery. That, you know, and slavery was over the last 500 years, but and even within that period, people still produced. We're still being creative, productive, everything else. I mean, whether you're talking from jazz to reggae to all these things are from us, even when we're pretty much pressed into. So we've got to take responsibility for projecting and promoting far better than we do.
What is your outlook for the Afruika Bantu Saturday School?
Well, I would like to. We've had a problem in that the one set of people here who could leave with GCSEs, with the eldest class, the 14 to 16, that's always the smallest class. Where I would expect that to be the largest class, because I can't believe that in South London, none of the youth need support to get through their GCSEs, because that's the easily the most challenging part of your adolescence is getting through that first set of serious exams. And whereas those lower years, they're all pursuing SATs. You can't show anyone your SAT grades. No one says, well, I'm not going to employ you because or I'm going to employ you because your SAT grades were brilliant. But when you've got your GCSEs, that gives you the option to go on to advanced levels in subjects of your choice, or at least you know that you're literate and numerate enough to start doing things for yourself once you're at a reasonable standard of literacy and numeracy. So I think that getting more of the youth that are going through that really challenging period, that's our challenge, to get more of them in and support them, because that's what we're offering here. And it's just strange that we can't get that class up to where it should be, which is, it should be easily our biggest, not the smallest.
Greetings there. My name is Imani Joseph. I am the science teacher here at the Afruika Bantu Saturday School. I've been here at the school for a long time. I've used to be a student here once upon a time. I went to, left the school back in 2010, age of 16. I went off to university, came back 2 years ago, and I started teaching at the school from that time. So I've been a teacher ever since for the last couple of years here at the Afruika Bantu Saturday School.
And what should I look for the future for the school?
For the future of the school, I want it to grow in the way in which it has recently. So the school caters right now for English, Black History, Science, Maths and Coding. Coding is a recent addition to the school. That's been very important. So our core subjects in Science, English and Maths are extremely important for the young people. Now, the reason why that's important is those are what we call the foundation subjects. So when they're at their mainstream school Monday to Friday, these are the key subjects. They need to be very good at Maths. They need to be very good at Science. They need to be very good at English. This is very, very important. So we give them that extra help in those subjects, particularly the older students, the ones that are doing their GCSEs age 15, 16. What we particularly encourage on a weekly basis is that they bring in exam papers, they bring in any particular resources that they're particularly struggling in, so that we can sort of really focus in on that. I do that with all of my science students, and I have done over the last year, because it's very important. We follow the national curriculum here at the Afruika Bantu Saturday School, exactly how they do it in mainstream school as well. But what I always try to do is that I want to particularly focus in on the areas which the young people have their weaknesses in. And that's what's very, very important. The reason why I do that is I remember back in year 11, my own self, almost 10 years ago, when I used to come here, I used to bring in my maths and science papers. And it was because of that help that I got at that time, which allowed me to get onto a good college and also get onto a good university to end up studying biomedical science. And one of the main reasons for that was the help in which I got. Now, that's what we want for the young people, to aspire to be whatever it is that they want to be. So in terms of the future of the school, I want it to grow, I want it to develop. We want to get more students, we want to get more volunteers on board, so that we can help out the next generation. That's what we want the school to grow. And if possible, maybe one day, my ultimate aim is actually for us to have this a week, as in a 5-day normal mainstream full-time school. Mm-hmm. So that's the aim, 10 years time, that would be my ultimate aim for the Saturday School.
And what's the address of the school? Where can we find the school?
So the school is based in Tulse Hill. It's at Abbots Park, SW2. So the buses which come around here is the number 2, the number 432 and the number 415. So Abbots Park is the road, and it's based in Tulse Hill, and it's at the St. Martin's Community Centre. So please, if you are a prospective student, if you're a prospective adult with young people between the ages of 5 to 16, those are the ages we cater for. There's class 1, class 2, class 3 and class 4. We split the classes into age groups: 5 to 7, 8 to 10, 11 to 13 and also 14 to 16. And we want more young children to be joining in order for us to help them with their education so that they can focus in on their future and to be able to help out the community, and that's what it's about.
Beautiful, thank you very much.
Greetings. Again, my name is Imani Joseph, 24 years old. I'm a member of the Afruika Bantu Saturday School, and we've been running since 1997. Again, the subjects in which we offer here at the Saturday School are English, Maths, Science, Coding and Black History. I wanted to do a particular mention of Black history or African history, as it's something which is extremely important. One of the reasons in which we offer African history here at the Afruika Bantu Saturday School is so that children, so that our young people, our young students are aware of their rich and glorious history. They are aware that their history is more than just slavery and Dr. Martin Luther King. Now, Dr. Martin Luther King is an extremely important historical figure, and it's important that we learn, but there's much more of our history that we need to be aware of. We also want our young people to be aware of the glorious history of Africa, their great culture, their great heritage. We also want them to be aware of Black British history as well, which is important as well. They need to be aware of issues of, say, police brutality that happened, for example, in the 1980s when Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister. We had the uprisings in Brixton, the uprisings in Tottenham in 1985, or in Handsworth in Birmingham, or in Moss Side in Manchester in 1985. They need to be aware of this history. So they need to be aware about all aspects of their African history, and that's something where they don't learn about in school, and that's something which is extremely important for our young people to build up their confidence. One of the great things about the Saturday School is that when we have important events, whether that be Kwanzaa, whether that be Black History Month events, whether that be events to commemorate Malcolm X, whether that's be to commemorate the great Marcus Garvey, is that it allows the young people to sort of go on stage to deliver speeches and presentations to tens and hundreds of people, and it gives them that confidence. And that's something which I have benefited from when I was once a student. And so this is one of the reasons that Black history is so important. We've seen that with some of the events that even have come out this year about the Windrush. We've seen why it's important that our young people are aware of why their history is so important. So again, Black history here at the Saturday School is just something which is extremely important, something which we focus on greatly.
My name is Brother Kayode. I teach at the Afruika Bantu Saturday School. I teach in African history, and I tend to not start from the necessary or the mainstream place of the transatlantic slave trade. I tend to go back in history at the start of Africa, the ancient empires that occurred before Africa and leading up to this point, and I tend to touch on a lot of hidden and untold history about our past, our people, our achievements, our greatness, and how much we actually influence society. Because the mainstream school doesn't really tell this. It doesn't tell it on purpose. Okay, I believe that there's an agenda to keep down the spirit, the power of the African Caribbean child. Okay, so it's necessary and it's vital that we teach our children the untold and the hidden history, okay, that they're keeping from us on purpose, right? So I got started at this Afruika Bantu Saturday School, by my journey here actually started at Auntie Jean's cultural market, funnily enough, and Elder Minka, one of the founders of the school, he actually approached me and he asked me if I've got any children that would like to attend the school. Unfortunately I don't. And he goes, "Oh, you can come down and volunteer then, brother." And I said, "Okay, excellent, So I came down one day. I came down the following week actually, and for about 6 months I was assisting the teachers, classes, helping the students out where I can. And after 6 months or so in January, I actually was asked to lead African history. At first I was scared, I was a little bit anxious, a little bit nervous, but I'm like, you know what, let me just jump into it. It's necessary to teach history in its true form, you know. So all lessons I teach, I look at multiple resources, multiple references, and ask multiple people as well, because you want to teach our children the right truth as well. The truth may be ugly, history may be ugly, but it's the truth, okay? So that's why that's why I teach as well. The history, moving forward, the history, not the history, sorry, why it's necessary to have an African-centered school. It's necessary to have a school, an Afruika Bantu Saturday School, because mainstream schools, 5 days a week schools, Monday to Friday schools, not only do they indoctrinate our children with, our young people, with the wrong information, they actually indoctrinate them with the high information. And it's not just information I'm on about as well, it's if a child or a student or a young person cannot see themselves in history or a part of not achieving anything great, then psychologically, that's kind of, and subliminally, that's telling them that their people or people that look like them never achieved anything. If it's only European or Caucasian people that they see in positions of greatness, you know, or achieving something, then that has an effect on them to not want to try and not achieve greatness. Okay, so I believe that they're trying to destroy our children on multiple levels, which is why schools like this are fundamental. Because my aim for the Afruika Bantu Saturday School is for it to become a pillar within the African Caribbean community, where building to the level where it becomes an institution where our students can thrive just by being themselves. There's no discrimination, there's no judgment, there's no prejudging them, there's no segregating them, you know. They come with their natural African Caribbean beauty, their culture, and that's what's needed. Because the culture makes up the individual to a certain degree, okay, to a certain degree. So at Afruika Bantu Saturday School, it is an amazing place where our people, our young students can thrive. They get given a lot of one-on-one attention, and it's just an environment for them to feel comfortable, where they can talk to anyone with any issues they have outside of school, especially in the mainstream school as well. So moving forward, and the future I see for the Afruika Bantu Saturday School, even though it's been running for 20 plus years, I want to continue that right into the future. I want to go for another 100, 200 years, long after I'm gone. I've actually put together a website for the school that I'm actually working on. It's finished, but I've got to refine it a little bit. And that's me kind of leaving a legacy behind so that someone else can run the website. This is mainly the students, so then that website and the legacy of the school will continue as well, okay? So in the future, I can see the school growing from strength to strength. We've been running for 20 plus years, and yeah, it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop at all, okay? So thank you very much, and stay blessed.